regarding Muslims staying in a non-Muslim country. This can be divided into two types. A Muslim which is born in a non-Muslim country, what he has to do, and a Muslim who migrates from a Muslim country to a non-Muslim country. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly mentions that and gives us guidance regarding this topic. Allah says in Surah Nisa chapter number 4, verse number 97, when the angels of death come to take the soul of the person who has died in sin against his soul, and asks him, what is your state? And he replies that we have lived in oppression on this earth. Our state was very bad, oppressed. Then the angel replies that the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is spacious enough for you to migrate from the evil. And for such people, Allah continues, their abode is hell, a refuge of evil. In this verse, clearly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when the angel of, and this verse was revealed in context to non-Muslims living in Muslims living in non-Muslim countries. This verse, if you read the Nuzul Quran, and people write in bracket mentioning for the Muslim living in non-Muslim country. It says that when the angel of death comes to take the soul of the person who has died in sin against the soul and asks them, what is your state? They reply, we lived in oppression on this earth. And the reply is that the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is spacious for you to move away from evil. That means the world of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so big that if you are living in a space where there is oppression, where there is shirk, where there is activity which is un-Islamic, you have to migrate. And if you do not, Allah says, your abode is hellfire, a refuge which is evil. The next verse says, in Surah Nisa chapter 4 verse number 98, as to those who are in oppression, and men and women and children who don't have the power or do not have the facility to migrate, verse number 99 says, Allah will forgive them. Verse number 100 says that as to those who sacrifice their home and leave their land, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them many a refuge in the world. And if the person dies as a refugee away from his home, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him. Here Allah is talking about those who do hijrah for the sake of Allah and His Rasul. With those who leave their home for the sake of Allah and His Rasul and take refuge. The land is very big. He'll find many refuge. And if he dies away from his home as a refugee for the sake of Allah and His Rasul, Allah will surely reward him. So from this verse, all the scholars, they agree that if a person is living in a non-Muslim land, there can be three options. Number one option is that he cannot practice his deen freely. Practicing deen hidingly is not acceptable. If you cannot practice your deen freely and you cannot call yourselves freely Muslims, then it becomes compulsory for you to migrate. Compulsory. Further, if you are living in a country where you cannot practice your deen freely, cannot call yourself Muslims, cannot do your faraiz, cannot stay away from the haram in a non-Muslim country, it becomes fard for you to migrate. Number two, if you can practice your deen very freely and there is no compulsion on you, you can do all the faraiz, you can stay away from all the haram, then migrating becomes mustahab but not a fard. But yet it is mustahab based on the verse of the Quran. So the scholars say if you are living in a non-Muslim land where you can call yourself Muslim freely, practice your deen, there is no harassment at all, then migration becomes mustahab but not a fard. And for those people who are weak and do not have the means to migrate, who are oppressed, women, children, don't have the power, don't have the means. For them, if they continue to stay, Allah will forgive them. It is permissible. So these are the three things.